Yes, ma'am.
So
So first skin, then superficial fascia.
so the layers of the anterior abdominal wall are first is skin, then
Yes, ma'am.
superficial fascia.
Superficial fascia.
How many layers superficial fascia has? Two layers. Superficial
Yes,
fatty
ma'am.
layer, also called as Camphor's layer, and deep membranous layer, also called as Scarpa's layer. We do not have deep
Yes,
fascia
ma'am.
in the abdomen because abdominal visceral organs needs free movement for digestion absorption,
Yes, ma'am.
isn't it? So after this, we will see first muscle, that is
External oblique.
external oblique abdominis. The muscle fibers are
Yes,
seen
ma'am.
only in the posterior direction. We don't find
Yes,
muscle
ma'am.
fibers anteriorly. What is this white sheet called as? Saidi.
Rectus sheath.
What is this
Rectus sheath,
white sheet?
ma'am.
Huh?
Rectus sheath.
No,
Rectus
actually,
sheath.
yeah, Masood, it is forming anterior wall of rectus sheath. I completely agree. But
Deep
basically,
abdominal fascia.
it is aponeurosis of external oblique muscle.
हाँ.
Okay, mama.
So this is basically the white sheet is only fascia where we have no muscle fibers. We have only like a sheet of fascia. That's what is called as aponeurosis. So what is the second muscle we see?
Uh, internal oblique.
Internal oblique. Muscle fibers are present only behind, posteriorly and anteriorly.
Behind.
Again.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
is this white sheet called as?
Uh,
Aponeurosis.
yeah, aponeurosis, ma'am.
Aponeurosis. Okay. Then
Yes.
what is the third muscle we have on the lateral axis?
Transversus abdominis.
Transversus abdominis. As you were telling, we have rectus abdominis in midline. Okay. So that white sheet was covering this muscle anteriorly. Hence, the muscle was not visible. That means it is forming the anterior wall of rectus sheath, which we will discuss in detail today. Okay. How is this rectus sheath formed? How is the aponeurosis forming the anterior wall, posterior wall? Let us discuss in detail. So third muscle is transversus abdominis, fourth is rectus abdominis, fifth is pyramidalis, isn't it? Once you remove that, you will see the, what is this fascia? Fascia transversalis. Below that, we will have peritoneum, below which we will have all abdominal visceral organs. So these are the layers of anterior abdominal wall. When like it is asked, like in Viva or at the table or in the class, what are the layers of anterior abdominal wall? You should be able to say skin, superficial fascia, below which you have aponeurosis of various muscles forming the anterior wall of rectus sheath, rectus muscle, posterior wall of rectus sheath, and peritoneum. Okay? Yeah. So Masood has tried very well. I appreciate. So we have studied the origin, insertion, nerve supply, action of all these muscles yesterday. Now let us move to rectus sheath. Now we have studied rectus abdominis muscle. What is the origin, Satvika? We have studied Sahiti, Satvika, Vaishnavi. Where is it taking its origin? Masood?
Yes, ma'am.
Medial head is coming from pubic symphysis.
Uh,
Ventral head is
Pubic
coming
symphysis, and it is
from the crest and pubic tubercle. The muscle fibers are moving upwards and they are getting inserted.
upwards and inside into fifth, sixth, seventh costal cartilages
Sixth,
and
seventh
xiphoid process.
costal cartilages. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So it is showing these tendinous intersections, which are actually showing like the muscle is developed from the segments of different myotomes. Okay, and that will have a different nerve supply also. Okay, so that is about this muscle. We'll go with rectus sheath. Rectus sheath is a very important question. It may come as a part of essay or it can be a short note, but it is always a question from abdomen, rectus sheath. Okay, now you have seen rectus sheath has anterior wall, it has posterior wall, and between two walls we have rectus abdominis muscle. So whatever you are seeing on the screen now, you are finding the posterior wall of rectus sheath. Anterior wall is not seen. Okay. So what is this midline we have described yesterday?
Arcuate line.
What is the, no, not arcuate line.
Linea alba.
Linea alba. In the midline, we have a white line running from xiphoid process to the pubic symphysis. This white line, which is like a partition between right rectus abdominis and left rectus abdominis. So we have
Ma'am, voice is not visible, ma'am. No, voice is not audible.
Hi, Abhiram. Okay. So rectus sheath you are finding. So it's an aponeurotic sheath enclosing rectus abdominis muscle and also pyramidalis muscle if it is present. It is present on either side of linea alba. So we know like rectus sheath is derived from aponeurosis of all three muscles of anterior abdominal wall. The three muscles are external oblique, internal oblique, and transversus abdominis. Now, why should this sheath be present? What is the necessity of this rectus sheath? It is actually preventing the bowing of, like it is not bulging out. It's preventing the bowing of rectus abdominis muscle during its contraction. Hence, the muscle efficiency is increased. Okay, it maintains the strength of anterior abdominal wall. Okay, now see, this green line is the anterior wall of rectus sheath, which is continuous from the xiphoid process to pubic symphysis. Complete covering is there. But if you see behind, we don't have complete cover. The cover, that the posterior green line is forming posterior wall of rectus sheath, which is extending not completely but below costal margin. Below costal margin till arcuate line, we have the posterior wall. Okay. So that means rectus sheath, it is presenting two walls. The front wall is the anterior wall and behind we have the posterior wall. The anterior wall is complete and it is covering the muscle entirely. Posterior wall is positioned above. We don't have any posterior wall above. Directly rectus abdominis is resting over the ribs and intervening muscles. Can you see? Is there any sheath behind in the upper part?
No.
No. The posterior wall is deficient above, and if you see below arcuate line also, do we find any posterior wall? Below arcuate line?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No. So posterior wall is deficient above and posterior wall is deficient below also.
Below.
Okay. Then this rectus sheath, above it is attached to the costal margins of 7th, 8th and 9th costal cartilages. Okay. Hence you will see the muscle is directly getting inserted on 5th, 6th and 7th costal cartilages. Okay. Then, so this rectus sheath, it is presenting a like this one. This free curved margin which is showing its concavity inferiorly. And this line is called as arcuate line.
Arcuate line, yes.
So the posterior wall of rectus sheath, okay, inferiorly it is showing a like concave margin, which is actually called as arcuate line. So
Arcuate
below
line.
this arcuate line, the muscle is directly lying over fascia transversalis. This blue line, this differently colored line, blue line is actually representing fascia transversalis. So below arcuate line, we don't have any aponeurosis. Posterior wall is not there. Hence muscle is directly resting on fascia transversalis. I hope you are understanding.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, see that I'll show you. Now, first we'll see the formation of this rectus sheath is different. We will take one level, like at this till the level of coastal margin, we take the formation as first. From the coastal margin to arcuate line, we will see its formation is different. Below arcuate line, again the formation of rectus sheath is different. Okay. Now let us see above the level of coastal margin, the anterior wall of rectus sheath is formed by which muscle? Abhiram?
External oblique muscle, ma'am.
Very good. External oblique muscle is forming the aponeurosis and it is forming the anterior wall of rectus sheath. Posteriorly, the muscle is directly resting where?
On
Fifth,
5th, 6th,
sixth,
7th,
and seventh quarter
7th intercostal spaces.
Yeah, intercostal spaces directly over the 5th, 6th, 7th coastal cartilages. Okay, and posterior wall, there is no aponeurosis. Okay, then. Now see here. Second level, I told you we take from the coastal margin to the arcuate line. So now see, the anterior wall is formed by aponeurosis of first muscle. What is that?
External oblique muscle.
External oblique. It is also formed by the, see, second muscle, that is internal oblique, is splitting into two layers. It has anterior lamina and it has posterior lamina.
Posterior lamina.
Anterior lamina is merging with the aponeurosis of external oblique, forming anterior wall of rectus sheath, whereas posterior wall of rectus sheath is formed by posterior lamina of internal oblique.
Yes.
So, the aponeurosis of transversus abdominis.
Abdominis.
I hope you are understanding.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that is the posterior wall. Now, so these are Netter's atlas pictures where you are finding this is one rectus abdominis, another rectus abdominis. This point is linea alba. You are finding we have taken this section at the level of like below coastal margin and above arcuate line. So anterior wall is formed by aponeurosis of external oblique, anterior lamina of internal oblique. Posterior wall of rectus sheath is formed by posterior lamina of internal oblique and aponeurosis of transversus abdominis. So that's what is given in the like lamina. And you see below the level of arcuate line. So all three muscles aponeurotic sheath is coming front only. So you are finding the anterior wall is formed by all the aponeurosis of all the three muscles, external oblique, internal oblique, and transversus abdominis. And posteriorly, the muscle is directly resting on the fascia transversalis. Okay, fascia transversalis below the arcuate line. See, all the muscle fibers aponeurosis has come in front, as you can see here. Okay, and posteriorly, the muscle is directly resting on this fascia transversalis. Okay. No, this is not required. Now, what do we see inside rectus sheath? Now, this rectus sheath is empty, but inside rectus sheath, what do we find? Tell me. Masood, what is present inside rectus sheath? Suppose
Superficial arteries, nerves, and veins.
basically, what is present inside the rectus sheath?
Superficial arteries, nerves, veins, ma'am.
Those are the present only. But what is the chief content? What is present inside rectus sheath? This is rectus sheath, no? Anterior wall and posterior wall. What is present inside rectus sheath? Abhiram?
Rectus
Muscle. Correct, beta. Yes.
Rectus abdominis muscle.
Rectus abdominis. First, you should tell that. I will take you to the pictures again, beta. Malli meeku koncham chepte gurtostundi. Major ga rectus sheath lopala emundi chudandi. See, those pictures, you have to keep them in mind, then only you will understand. See, you have cut the rectus sheath. What is present inside? What is the chief content you are finding? What is this inside the sheath?
Rectus abdominis.
Yes. You should tell rectus. Masood. Understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
So chief content we have is rectus abdominis muscle, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So you are finding, are you able to see rectus abdominis muscle here? See, I'm taking you to all pictures back so that you clearly understand the concept. We'll do inguinal canal also very shortly. All these concepts are important there. See, are you finding rectus abdominis muscle here in this picture?
Yes.
కనిపిస్తుందా?
Yes, ma'am.
No,
రెక్టస్ అబ్డామినిస్
No,
ఇక్కడ ఏమైనా కనిపిస్తుందా?
no,
nahi,
ma'am.
in this
No,
it's
no,
not
no.
there.
ఎందుకు
This
ఎందుకు
picture.
కనిపించట్లేదు? వై?
Rectus sheath.
Excellent. Rectus sheath, it is the anterior wall of rectus sheath is still intact. Anterior wall intact గా ఉంది. ఇది కట్ చేసి చూస్తేనే కనిపిస్తుంది కదా.
Yes,
ये
ma'am.
sheath अभी intact है. ये कट करके अंदर देखे तो अंदर है मसल. समझ में आ रहा मसूद?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ. So that is the important concept which you should know.
Yes.
हाँ. So I hope you are understanding what I am trying to tell you. Are you able to see rectus
Yes,
sheath
ma'am.
here? No, rectus sheath is visible, but
No.
abdominis muscle is
Visible,
there.
but muscle is not visible.
Muscle is not visible because muscle is inside the sheath, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the muscle visible now? Yes, right?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Sheath is cut, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
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 Abhiram?
ma'am.
Huh. So inside a rectus sheath, what do we see? Rectus sheath లోపల ఏముంది?
Rectus abdominis muscle is present, ma'am.
Pyramidalis muscle.
Rectus abdominis and pyramidalis. And if you remove rectus abdominis and pyramidalis, if you remove those two muscles, then you are finding blood vessels and nerves, right? What is the name of this
Yes,
artery?
ma'am.
Do you remember?
In a memory,
Correct. Internal
Internal
memory
thoracic
artery.
artery.
internal
Branch only. Internal memory is terminal branch. What is that? Superior epigastric artery.
I think. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
From in lower down, we have మీరు అస్సలే చదువుతలేరు. You are not studying. Other structures you are finding, చూడండి. Yellow, all
Linea.
nerves.
Now,
These are intercostal nerves. Okay? Intercostal.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So rectus sheath contents అనగానే ఇవన్నీ గుర్తు రావాలి మీకు. What is
Okay.
present inside the rectus sheath? Tell me now, what are the contents? We have
rectus abdominis and
First
pyramidalis
rectus
arteries.
abdominis, ma'am.
Two rectus abdominis muscles, pyramidalis. If present, superior epigastric artery.
Epigastric artery,
Yeah, keep
superior
talking. Inferior
epigastric vein.
epigastric. Obviously, corresponding to that, we have veins also.
Same veins.
Yes, ma'am.
T7 to
nerves,
T12 nerves. Kada? T7 to
Yes,
yes,
T12. Okay, that is lower 6 thoracic nerves. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So now let us talk about the blood supply of anterior abdominal wall. Masood, tell me what is the name of this artery? Just now I told you. Scientific-
Superior epigastric artery, no?
Very good. Superior epigastric artery and inferiorly, what is the name of the artery?
Inferior epigastric artery.
Inferior epigastric artery. What are these nerves?
Lower six.
T7, nahi, one second.
T7 to T12
T7
intercostal
to T12 nerves.
nerves. Very good. So you are finding, as Abhiram was telling us, this is internal mammary artery, also called as internal thoracic artery. So its terminal branch only superior epigastric artery, isn't it? So superior epigastric
Yes, ma'am.
artery you are finding. Okay. Then see here. Arteries of anterior internal thoracic artery, also called as internal mammary artery. Its terminal branch is superior epigastric artery.
Yes.
Okay, from external iliac artery, you have one artery which is going like this. You call it as inferior epigastric artery. Okay. Then, so superior and inferior epigastric arteries are anastomosing. Okay. So correspondingly, we have veins also. What are the as you said, T7 to T12? Those are the
T12
cutaneous nerves.
nerves.
7, 8,
Yes,
9, 10, 11, 12. And they are actually entering. What is this line? Do you remember? Yesterday I have named it. Midline is linea alba.
Yes,
Madhyalo
ma'am.
ఉన్నది. Circle లో
Linear
సగం
linear
semi
semilunaris. Linear
linea semilunaris.
semilunaris.
This is linea semilunaris and this is
Semilunaris.
linea alba.
linea alba.
These are all dermatomes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is venous drainage. The superficial veins. See, generally umbilicus is called as watershed line because above the umbilicus the veins are draining into axillary vein, and below the umbilicus they are draining into femoral, like great saphenous vein and all. Okay, so this is a line of partition. పైన veins పైకే, కింద veins కిందికే, ఊపర్కి ఊపర్ నీచేకే నీచే. Hence this line is actually called as watershed
Line
line.
of watershed.
Okay, see, watershed line at the level of umbilicus. Even for the lymphatics also, you see superficial lymphatics, they are draining into axillary group of lymph nodes, and you will see the lymphatics which are below umbilicus, they are draining into superficial inguinal group of lymph nodes. Okay, so pairi paiki, kindadi kindaki, upar ka upar, niche ka niche. Hence this line of partition is called watershed line at the level of
umbilicus.
Okay, so that is all about this anterior abdominal wall. Okay, so we will discuss inguinal canal tomorrow because it needs again like to have a fresh understanding everything. So like which muscles aponeurosis is thickening to form inguinal ligament? Tell me. Inguinal
Transverse abdominis. No?
is it? Try to recollect.
Nee, this one,
Vaishnavi wrote
external
here.
abdominal.
Very good. Vaishnavi gave correct answer. Who said external oblique among students who are answering? Masood or
Who said,
Abhiram?
ma'am? Masood.
Masood. Masood, it would be great if you can also show your face, but I'll be very happy. Abhiram, I'm very happy. Video mode on is always better. See, inguinal canal we'll discuss tomorrow only, but see, I just wanted to share few things from this PowerPoint also. You remember the 9 regions of abdomen?
Yes, ma'am.
Right hypophysis.
So subcostal plane, transtubercular plane, and mid-clavicular plane, and we have 9 regions we have studied. Okay, few like things which we have. Linea alba is the midline structure. Immediately below skin, I said we have superficial fascia. Superficial fatty layer is Camphor's layer, and deep membranous layer is Scarpa's layer. Okay. So superficial fatty layer, no, actually it fuses with the superficial fascia of the thigh. Okay. And membranous layer passes deep to inguinal ligament. Like at this point, we have fascia lata. Fascia lata is the modification of deep fascia of the thigh. I hope you remember that.
Yes, ma'am.
What are you seeing on the screen?
Superficial fascia.
Okay, so all important points we have discussed anyways. So yesterday's question paper, I will discuss inguinal canal tomorrow only, not today, because it needs fresh mind.